All right. Hey, welcome into Fantasy Football Tonight. My name is Will Rock. I'm your host tonight, and I'm joined by Jared. Jared Eisenlohr, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing. It's been an eventful 48 hours or so coming home from a crazy Detroit Lions win, rolling into the ER last night. It was not great, but took a break this morning. Feeling okay right now, so I figured we'd pump in the fantasy football news. Pretty wild week this week. And
Don't let anybody tell you that you're soft because you're not. You you are powering through. I'm like, do we need to move this? Do we need to change it?
nope.
No, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. He
I,
says.
I already
Let's
missed.
go.
I already missed one show today. I can't miss another one, man.
Well, take care of your health first, but we're glad you're here, man.
Yeah, me too. Oh, I'm definitely glad to be here with all the things that was rolling through my head last night in the ER. It was not good, but so anyway, welcome to Fantasy Football Week 5. Can you guys believe it's Week 5? When you do get a chance to watch us later, I blinked and we're already through quarter 1, and we're kicking off into quarter 2.
I hate it. The anticipation, like you think about the 5 weeks leading into the season and how slow it goes. Like this goes so slow because you're so excited, and then in the blink of an eye, you go through 5 weeks without even thinking. Right?
Yeah, I mean it seems like we just met each other at the PFUFA event, and that seems like it was just
Yeah,
yesterday. Like we were just there. And it's been 8 weeks or whatever it's been already. So
yeah, it goes fast, man. It goes fast, but there's still a lot of football left. A lot of football left. I think we're getting to bye weeks already. This is a bye week
yeah,
for
what a perfect week for the Lions it is.
they need
And
it.
it's pretty wild performances this weekend, Jared. And speaking of wild performances, if you don't mind, I have a little new segment I'd like to roll through for just a second, and it's going to be called Studs, Duds, and Thuds.
Mm.
I know it's kind of weird, but whatever. I just wanted to highlight a few things that happened. Now, these guys may not be the weekly leaders, they may not be season leaders, but they had something notable that they did this weekend that I at least wanted to mention. So, first up, Jaden Daniels, quarterback for Washington Commanders. He is my number one overall pick in the draft for best quarterback. He yes, even ahead of Caleb Williams. I put out the video, the receipts, all that stuff. It's all there. I saved it. I posted it to the members today in the Rockton Detroit Lions members only area just to show them that I had that much confidence in Jaden Daniels. And I know it's still early in the season, but he is off to a generational start to his career. He has the league's highest completion percentage and now holds an NFL record for the best completion percentage at 82.1 through his first 4 games of a season. And he's doing doing this while leading a Washington offense that seemingly can't be stopped. Now, the Commanders had scored a whopping 16 straight possessions, or scored on a whopping 16 straight possessions without a punt or a turnover. So Jaden Daniels, definitely a stud right now in the NFL. Next up, none other than my guy, Jared Goff. I mean, come on. This guy's just racking them up right now. Pitches a perfect game. Number 18 of 18, right? When that came down, I'm sitting there, row 2, beautiful seats on the tunnel, 18 of 18. I'm like, how does he do it? Like, how does he bounce back in this epic of a fashion? Set an NFL record, most pass attempts without an incompletion. Goff went 18 for 18, 292 on the night, 2 touchdowns. The previous record was held by Kurt Warner. He went 10 for 10 in a game back in 05. So Goff just didn't break the record. He smashed it. Now, Goff also set the record for the most passing yards without an incompletion. Warner threw for 115 in his perfect game, while Goff threw for, well, he more than doubled it, 292 on the night. And we aren't done yet. He also caught a touchdown pass thrown by Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they became the first pair of players on the same team to catch and throw for a touchdown, as well as have a perfect completion rate in the same game. So obviously,
Let me ask a question here. I
big time
posed this
stud.
to Twitter. I posed this to Twitter earlier. If you're eight, is like, what did he do to not earn a or not do to not earn a perfect rating?
Right. And it's so convoluted, Jared. Like I went through it and I'm digging and I'm trying to find information like, how does Baker get a perfect one and he threw for incompletions?
Kyler Murray had a perfect one earlier this year too, and he threw incompletions, like you said. Like,
Right.
what? what does it take to get somebody actually responded on Twitter and said, was it
See,
the safety? Was it the
uh,
safety? You get
no,
not
it's honestly, it's not a perfect system, but it is something about expected points.
Mm,
So expected points per drop back and the CPOE and I mean all this other the DVOA, I mean everything that comes into play with this. Apparently he missed some sort of metric which doesn't make any sense. Because even if it was a safety, you would think the touchdown would have, offset that, right? But who knows? And then we'll roll into a stud and a thud, and this was the same game, same team. David Montgomery wins the second scepter of the week or second scepter of the year by Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football for angry runs. I don't know if there's ever been a running back to get two in the same season. I didn't look, but man, he completely laid out Devin Witherspoon on a catch and run, bouncing his way off tacklers for 40 yards on that play. So he gets not only the stud, but he gets one of the biggest thuds of the weekend, knocking Devin Witherspoon to the ground. Now, Devin bounced straight up, tried to catch him, but he couldn't. The other dud, so my first dud, and he's not really a dud per se as a running back, but kind of something going on with his game right now, and I'll let you speak to it. Obviously you will at some point. Bijan Robinson, he had one fewer carry and fewer than half as many rushing yards as Tyler Algier. Now, Robinson had a lengthy touchdown call back in the fourth quarter, but his rush share is really going in the wrong direction right now. And he has just one touchdown on the year. So it's kind of in that dud category for me. Now, I know you can never really put Bijan in that category as a season-long dud, but, maybe you'll give us some nuggets later on where you think Bijan is. And then my last one is my concern of the week, which would be a dud. Alvin Kamara having a crazy good season. He saw 9 targets, 20-plus touches in the game, or every game this season, and revealed after the game that he's been playing through broken ribs. So it has my concern level a little elevated if you have Alvin Kamara. At what point is he going to be, sat down for a little bit? Because ribs are tricky, man. We seen it last year with David Montgomery. He had bruised ribs and he was out for a couple weeks, I think. So
yeah, and I don't. My high school football career was nothing stellar whatsoever. And it's hard to compare it to what Alvin Kamara is going through. But in my junior year, I broke my ribs. I actually had some cartilage tear in my ribs. Is actually what it was. It wasn't even broken ribs. I don't think I can remember ever being in more pain than that. Everything you do, every time you breathe, every time you cough, every time you sneeze, every time you yawn, every time you move, it hurts so bad. So whenever I see players playing through broken ribs, I I don't know how they do it, and it's not something that goes away quickly from what I remember 20, 30 years ago. But man, that's certainly a cause for concern.
well, it's not like you can, wrap it, put some, pain relief gel on it, and away you go. Because I mean, you got to stretch for the ball.
Yeah.
You've got to take the ball and the handoff. You're getting hit in the ribs on tackles. It's impossible to ignore a rib shot.
Well, you're compensating for it, right? You're
Yeah.
protecting it. You're not. It's yeah. I agree with you on that. It doesn't seem to have slowed him down yet, but
At what point does it? Yeah.
yeah.
So let's do a recap of week 4, man. You've had a great week, and a lot of your calls are coming to life, man. And if people are paying attention, man, they could be pulling down some change. And if you do bet, please bet responsibly. If you need some help with betting, there's a number on the thumbnail. Of course, this is not a professional site. Please bet at your own risk. This is all for fun, man. We're having a good time with it. But we've also got one of the most intelligent, recreational gamblers and fantasy footballers on the show, Jared Eisenlohr. So week 4, how'd we do? How did you do? What's happening in fantasy land?
Week 4 was probably, it was the best week of the fantasy year so far. Profited several $100 in the DFS.
Nice.
Won probably 3/4 of the season-long matchups. I have. I mean, some luck obviously is always involved. When we talked about this, at least 25% of this is just pure dumb luck.
Yeah.
Was not overly extended on Rashee Rice or Anthony Richardson. So I dodged some bullets there. Kyle Pitts is droppable, I feel like, at this point. It's just that's one of the things that I've learned. He almost killed me in a couple spots. Sam Darnold is almost must startable at this point. Um, the Packers wide receivers are just going to make Jordan Love look good week over week. So I think we're in a pretty good spot with some of these players. From what I put on Twitter last week, all 5 of the quarterbacks finished in the top 12. My cash running backs flopped a little bit, with Saquon Barkley and Najee Harris. They both finished outside of the top 20, but the GPP plays, the guaranteed prize pools, were much more successful. We had Bucky Irving, Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, and we called it on the show last week, DeAndre Swift with a big, big game. Wide receivers, everybody had decent games except for Jahan Dotson. I thought maybe with both of those other wide receivers being out, we'd get something from Jahan Dotson. Didn't happen. But Nico Collins, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, they all hit from our top 5 from Twitter. And then from a tight ends perspective, this is just frustrating, but we did get Dallas Goedert, but we missed on Brock Bowers, Tyler Conklin, and Cole Kmet. Overall, very, very strong week. I think we talked about just the ability to be patient. Let's wait for 3 weeks for sure. And then really now you can start to look at some trends and start to see what's progressing in certain directions. But overall, very profitable week. And we get into bye weeks now. So now a whole different element and whole different dimension of complexity comes into play.
Yeah, and we're, obviously fans of the Lions. We're excited for a bye week this early just because of a lot of the injuries that we face. But, man, I almost wish now, after seeing how they played on Monday night, that we just kept the train rolling, even though Frank Ragnow's down and a few others. Man, Graham played an incredible game. Best game we've seen out of the Lions so far. Best game we've seen out of Jared probably ever. You almost wish now that the bye week wasn't there, but you kind of need it. So what are some of the
we definitely need it, Will. We definitely need it because I had my sister-in-law move her wedding day to this week so that I could go.
Oh my goodness. You had a family member change their wedding over a Lions game.
In defense, they were between two different days. One was September 7th or September 8th, one of those two. And then one was this weekend. I said, if you do it the first week of September, you're happy to do it. I just won't be there. And sure enough, they made it this weekend. So
that is commitment.
We can't move.
That is commitment. So some of the hits and misses from last week. I don't think you highlighted all of them yet, but what were some of the hits and the misses?
Yeah, DeAndre Swift was a big one. Bucky Irving. The one I didn't hit yet was Chase Brown. So Chase Brown's been somebody I've been very high on just from all offseason. In fact, a couple of dynasty leagues, I made a trade for him. He's been always in that 8th, 10th round pick for me. I felt he was going to have the job over Zach Moss. That's what I was a little bit discouraged in the first couple of weeks when that didn't happen because I banked a lot on some running back depth with Chase Brown emerging. And so thankfully he did emerge. He emerged a little bit last week or the week before, week 3, but he really did emerge here in week 4. Zach Moss is injury prone. I expect that the Chase Brown trending arrow is going to continue to go up. And so I'm glad we were on him for this past week.
All right. And then did you talk about the misses too?
If we have to, I will.
We got to keep it honest.
Totally. I get it.
We throw the receipts out there, sometimes, we miss, right?
We miss. Yeah. So we all talked about Jahan Dotson. I thought the Texans D was going to have a much better performance. They did not end up showing up for fantasy-wise. Devon Achane, nothing.
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins, nothing.
Kind of done with the Dolphins, man. I feel like that ship has sailed when Tua went down.
Yeah, they're saying he's back week 8, so don't drop Achane or any of the Dolphins skill players. or don't even trade him away yet because TUES coming back. He's symptom free. Expect to see him week 8. If you've invested Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Chan, don't sell them now at their rock bottom value. Hold on to them at this point.
Smart play.
But yeah, and then Darnell Mooney. We didn't get a lot out of Darnell Mooney when I expected to. So those were the big misses for us last week.
Well, I mean, I guess it could have been worse. Really could have been worse. I've been tracking my my weekly pick'ems. So, part of this show, I started doing some weekly pick'ems on the back end of it. And Saturday morning, I kind of tell everybody what I did for the week. And so I've been tracking. And I said that I was going to go up against Jeremy Fowler this year, and that's who I've been going up against. And right now, I'm only one behind him. And I got off to such a terrible 1 p.m. time slot. I mean, I lost like 4 out of 5 games or 4 out of 6 games at the 1 p.m. time slot, whatever it was this weekend. And it couldn't have gone any worse. Like I had, who did I have? I had Carolina. I thought Carolina was going to pull that game out, and they didn't. I thought Atlanta was going to win, and they should have. I had the Jets. I mean, nobody did anything in that game. And then Green Bay, I thought for sure Green Bay was going to hold their end of the bargain up here, and they didn't. So few quick losses for me, but you know what the good news is right now I am tied for 5th in the nation as far as points. And I'm only 1 slot behind Jeremy, and I'm 5 wins off of first place. So I'm picking 78% right now.
Hey, take that all day, man. That's good.
Not bad.
That's
right?
Good.
Not bad.
I can't say as far as picking winners, I'm nearly that close, but no, that's really good.
Just straight up pick'ems. I don't do the points.
It's been so weird, right? It's been such a weird year.
Yeah. Well, all the injuries, the injuries I think is really throwing everybody off.
And the upsets. I mean, was it 3 weeks in a row that the biggest underdog of the week won outright?
Yeah. And the minute you bet it, you know what's going to happen. The minute you bet it. But you've got some receipts to talk about too. So what do we have?
I mean, really going back to what I had put out in Twitter, the top quarterback targets for DFS: Kyler Murray, Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow. And then I also put out there, and this was September 29th. I believe this was
Friday.
Sunday morning.
Was it Sunday?
I think it was Sunday morning before the game.
Yeah, Sunday morning.
To avoid Pat Mahomes. And the reason behind that was just in order to beat the Chargers when you're as beat up, in order to beat the Chiefs when you're as beat up as the Chargers, the game plan for Harbaugh is going to be run the ball, control the ball, own the time of possession, don't get the Chiefs on the field as much as we can. And that just doesn't lend itself to being a high scoring fantasy game for Mahomes. So I was off of Mahomes everywhere. In fact, in one league, and I don't think I had the guts to do it in a high stakes league, but I started Sam Darnold over Pat Mahomes.
Wow.
I wouldn't have had the guts to do that in a big league. I think it's just a smaller, fun league, but it was just not set up well for Mahomes last week. We did call Najee Harris, we did call Najee Harris. That didn't go well. Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Brian Robinson were all calls of ours. We had Nico Collins, and we put in there to stack with Stroud. That blew up. That was awesome. Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore. I put DJ Moore in there because everybody was going to be off of him because of the poor showing he's had. He didn't light the world on fire, but he got what you expected to get from him. I think it was he had a touchdown and he had 12 or 13 fantasy points, which when nobody else has had them, then that's not bad. And then then Dallas Goedert ended up shooting up pretty well too. So and this is I try to make this. I try to get him out before Thursday, but candidly, so much changes between Thursday and Sunday morning. So what I'm trying to do is just get out my targets for DFS in there's so many variables when it comes to season long leagues that I can put out a top 5 or a top 10, but there's so many variables around what else you have on your roster for that to whether that's going to matter or not. So I put out my cash and GPP plays for DFS on Sunday morning, and I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I love it, man. Same thing with me. It's like I get out my Thursday pick. And by the way, I've hit every Thursday winner so far. Every Thursday night, I've picked them all. We'll see if that happens tomorrow. I do the same thing. So I'll get my Thursday pick out, and then I'll do Friday. I'll get the Sunday picks out, and then by Sunday morning, I'll update on Twitter. But Saturday morning, I'll kind of roll through it again and see if I'm going to do a little flip or flop. Kind of looking at injury reports from Friday night, what happened. And that's the biggest key is the injury reports. You just never know what's going to happen.
And it's not the players that are hurt. It's the players who you think can benefit if that player's out.
Yeah.
So if you think about, if we'll use a hypothetical, Alvin Kamara's out. It's not so much that I need to worry about Alvin Kamara, but do I want Jamal Williams or Kendrick Miller if he's healthy? Like, how do I want to compensate for him being out? So as we talked about with these Wednesday shows, like it's a work in progress. And what I'm learning is like Wednesday, I've only really thought about probably half of what you need to think about leading into Thursday. And so I like to get into some of the tips and some of the things to think about because those won't change. But when it comes down to like what you're going to actually put and submit in your lineups, a lot of that is happening between Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings.
So, yeah, like you were talking about, the sample size is getting larger, right? So certain things are becoming a little bit more clear, in focus, if you will. Some things are a little bit less clear as well. But what do you think that we need to start focusing on, or fantasy footballers in general? What are some tips that you would have for them now entering the second quarter of the season, if you will?
Yeah, I think the first one is the approach to bye weeks. Like I am one that doesn't pay a lot of attention to bye weeks in the draft season. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to get this running back because he's got the same bye week as my other running back or something like that. I don't generally think about that too much. I will in some of the leagues where the playoffs start in week 14 and that person has a bye week. If there's a player that I value equally, I will defer to the one that doesn't have a bye week. But by and large, I want to take the best players I can. But I also during the season like to work out 1 week ahead. So I don't necessarily look at the week in front of me. If I'm getting into my lineup and I'm saying, oh, I've got 3 bye weeks this week, I got to go out and I got to go out and bid for players, or I've got to submit waivers for players. If it's for that existing week, you're too late. Like I like to look 1 week ahead. So this week I'm making sure that I'm fully stocked for the week, and I am. And then because there's only 4 teams that we're missing, but like I'm already looking ahead to now week 6. Because if I wait till next week, I'm going to be bidding. I'm going to have to bid more to win some of these players, or I'm going to have to be higher in the waiver order to get some of these players because they're all going to wait till next week to solve that problem. So I like to work 1 week ahead so you don't have to fight for the same players at the same time against your league mates. So that's one thing I would ask people to think about. Look 1 week ahead than the week that you're getting ready to play.
That's super smart.
Second one, trends. Like you said, 4 weeks under our belt, we can start to look at trending for routes run, target percentage, goal line carries. Weeks 1 through 3 are tough to really identify these trends. So not only are we trying to learn it, but the teams themselves are trying to figure out what their offense is, right? But now with 4 weeks behind us, we can see who's ramping up, who's getting phased out, and who's going to have the positive benefit from injuries moving forward. Like thinking about like the Rams wide receivers. I think after week 1, everybody was on Tyler Johnson. I went out and tried to get speculative ads for Tyler Johnson. It's turning out he's not the one. Looks like more of a Jordan Whittington situation now. So you just have to wait till you start to see some of these trends play out. I still have a lot of work to do on those trends coming into week 5. One of my favorite things to look at And Fantasy Pros puts this out. I think it comes from Andrew Erickson. I could be wrong. I don't want to misquote. So we can make sure we get that sorted out. Sam Hoppin. That's who it was. Sam Hoppin. He comes out with team pace and number of plays that teams run in through the first 4 weeks of the season. So you can start to see which offenses are going to yield the most amount of plays, which in theory is also going to yield the most amount of fantasy points. And so when you look at all those different factors, you can start to see which teams you'll be interested in targeting in terms of how many plays are they getting per game. And then based on the neutral game script, is their pace faster or slower? Right. So when you think about teams that right now are running with a pretty fast pace, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, none of those are surprising. The Steelers did surprise me a little bit. And the Bears are up there as well. In that same quadrant, we have the Lions, we have the Commanders, the Dolphins, and the Eagles, which those are not surprising. Now, when you think back to the slower pace, like who's running the fewest plays, who's running them slower than expected, what would be your guess if you're just thinking about it?
If you're running plays slower than expected?
Yeah. Who's taking more time in between plays?
Oh, I guess I really haven't noticed, but I mean, according to the graph, I mean, if I were to cheat, it would be the Vikings.
The Vikings and the Chargers, which you would expect, right? You expect it from the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh, right? Which is another reason why you want to maybe fade the quarterback that they're playing, because the other team's not going to get as many plays.
Right.
So the chart that we have, and if we are able to, if we're able to attribute Sam Hoppin and make sure we give him credit for that, we should post this chart, because this chart is fascinating when it comes down to what offenses do you want to target as to who's running more plays and who's running them at a faster clip.
Yeah, I like it. They do a lot of these graphs now for a lot of different variables, like double team, triple teams. The famous one about Aiden Hutchinson and others. But yeah, they do a lot of these graphs now that they do help. But I never really looked at them from a purpose of fantasy football. And I guess now when you look at the advantage side of some of these metrics, and these key data points, it makes perfect sense with what you're saying. If they're slow to move the ball, they're taking more time, which means they're sucking the play clock down, the possession clock. Then that means that the other quarterback is either going to have to go up top with it, and they're going to be throwing the ball more, which means the running back's probably not going to get as much opportunity in the game. But they're not going to have as much time or as much plays, like you alluded to be able to, stack up the fantasy points.
It's all correlation, right? It's all correlation. And what's fascinating too is, and it's easy to get sucked into which teams are good. Like the Vikings, let's go after the Vikings. They've got, they're 4-0, undefeated, right? And then you look at even the Chiefs, right? Vikings and Chiefs, 2 undefeated teams. We want all those fantasy. Well, they're both running many fewer plays than the other teams. Now, some of that's because they're so efficient on offense, so you have to factor that in. But when you're looking at the Vikings, they're actually running a slower offense. They're controlling the ball for longer, but not running as many plays. And so that you can sort of correlate then to who they playing and what impact does that have on your roster.
Right.
Because we don't care how good the team is. We care how many fantasy points and stats that their players get. Right.
This is true. Well, it depends. Like for me, I would never want to have a fantasy win over a Lions loss. I think that a lot of us agree with that, right? But I mean, speaking of some of this stuff, what teams, or I guess in this sense, what players do you have that are kind of trending up and vice versa, trending down right now?
Yeah. I'm trying to limit it to just 3. I think Travis Etienne is bothersome right now with Tank Bigsby. Also, Jaguars are running a pretty slow offense and an inefficient offense where they're having to throw the ball a lot more. And so I think Travis Etienne is certainly trending down. Rachaad White, very similar situation. I mean, the Buccaneers are the slowest team in terms of the seconds per play out of anybody. And Bucky Irving looks good. So what does that mean for Rashad White? And Rashad White just hasn't looked sluggish, even going back to the second half of last year. I think he might be lucky to he's getting 3 yards per carry or something like that. So Bucky Irving, arrow trending firmly up, which is going to be at the detriment of Rashad White, I think. And then trending down, and this is correlated to something else that I've got in trending up that might surprise some people, but Garrett Wilson. The Jets offense does not look good. I saw some interviews with Garrett Wilson. He was doing, I don't remember who was interviewing him, but I saw the clip where he said a bunch of words, but what you really heard from him is, I don't know why I'm not getting the ball. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, he was careful to stick to the line that the media relations team gave him, but it was certainly didn't sound good from Garrett Wilson's perspective. And Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that when you've got like an Alan Lazard or someone you've got rapport with, it's always been this way. He's got to trust you to throw you the ball. I don't think that's there yet.
That's why I think that there's a lot of Lions fans that think that Davante Adams is on his way because we have cap space, and I don't think that's how Brad Holmes works, right? He doesn't just work based off cap space to bring a player in. There's got to be space. There has to be a relationship. Jared Goff definitely needs those relationships. But the reason why I'm saying all this is I can see where Davante is going to end up a Jet because he has a relationship with Rodgers. And
I think they're talking about with the Jets, the Cowboys, the Chiefs is not going to happen.
They mentioned the Lions only because of cap space, though, which makes no sense to me.
But it doesn't. Would it be nice to have Davante Adams if they did it?
Where's he going to fit in right now?
I mean, well, that's just it. Like, he can fit in a lot of places. He's Davante Adams, but does he want to? He wants to be the alpha, right? And he's just not going to have that role here. Like, if Davante Adams said, "Hey, listen, I'm on my last 3 years of my career. I care about nothing else but winning, and I'll do whatever you want me to do," then I'll take him. He's talented and gives us depth, but that's not what he wants. He wants to play with a quarterback he knows, and he wants to be the alpha.
I wonder if he and Amon Ra built a relationship during their filming, that maybe it could lead into some credibility, and I think people read into that stuff a little too much.
But they were never together during the filming.
Okay.
Because it was done throughout the course of the season. So there was like 2 separate camera crews everywhere. Might have been together at the premiere or something like that, but they weren't really together. And then you just think about like he's going to be an upgrade. He's going to have an upgraded situation regardless of where he goes, I think, right? Because the Raiders is just not, it's not going to work for him. And we talked about it, I think it was the first or the second show we did earlier this season, where who are we high on, who are we not? And I had put Davante Adams and somebody that I was not high on. And the reason I gave was he looked like he was checked out before the season even started. He didn't want to be there.
Right.
He was saying things that made it indicate. And you could just sense that this drama was going to unfold. And here we are between week 4 and 5. He wants to get traded. Now, there's probably going to be a better spot wherever he lands, but he's got to get acclimated with the offense. It's going to take a while. Now, once he does, he's probably going to be phenomenal. So I'm not saying don't go out and get him. In fact, like, he's probably trending up more than anything. But the reason you don't go after him at the beginning of the year with a second, third round pick like some people were is you just kind of saw this coming. And it was very predictable. And now the teams he wants to go to, the Saints, the Jets, is what they're saying is where he's telling people he wants to go. Big surprise. Of course, he wants to go with the quarterbacks. They're going to throw him the ball.
So Blurpy in the chat, if you're still in, I queued up your question. We'll see if we can take a moment here to try to get to it here in a little bit. So I'll say one more thing about Davante Adams. When you look at, like, from the Detroit Lions perspective, you've got Amon Ra, clearly the alpha of this team. You've got Jameson Williams, who's starting to catch lightning in a bottle finally in his 3rd season. Tim Patrick, I was going to do a video about this. I still might. That he has been the only wide receiver to step foot into this team without going through an offseason with Jared Goff to start catching passes and having an impact as quickly as he did. I have never seen that with another wide receiver that has been, an expat from, another team, or someone picked up, after 53-man cuts.
Yep.
DPJ was the only other one he didn't, right? So I find that interesting. I think that Tim Patrick just fits. So you throw a guy like Adams in there. I mean, what happens to JMO's targets? You know, what?
It's too much. Like, I don't think you change anything with who we have. Like, I think
Yeah.
Davante Adams, again, just has to be comfortable saying, I'll play whatever role you want me to play.
Yeah. Like, you might get 20 yards a game, dude. You might get targeted. You might not.
And it's just, that's not where he's at right now. He still feels he's got it. He wants to play. He wants to win a championship. But is he willing? And that's the big question with everybody when this stuff happens, is like, are you willing to do what it takes to win a championship, or do you just want to be the star on a championship team? Because those are two different things.
Yeah, and I think we know enough about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and the way that this team is built right now too, that their track is, you need to do whatever we ask you to do, and you have to be comfortable with it. Like you said, everyone has to have a role, and that role is whatever we tell you it is that week. And if you just do your job, play your role, we're going to win a lot of ball games.
That's right.
Everyone's starting to buy in, and it's been fun to watch now for 30-ish games or so. Question from the chat, if you can answer it, what do you think?
Yeah. So the question is, do I trade Davante Adams and Nick Chubb for Bijan and Sutton? Looking at the roster that he puts out here, we've got Tyreek, Debo, Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, Downs, Rice. Yeah, Rice is a wash. He's not going to play again, I don't believe, this year. Running backs, not real high in the running backs you got. The trade's fine. Like, so the trade is, when you just take out everything else, Adams and Chubb for Bijan and Sutton, you're getting younger. You're buying low on Bijan, I think. So I think you're getting him at a value. And I think by the end of the season, of these four players, you're getting the best player in the trade. I'd do it. Why not? I mean, it's a fair trade. It's not like, hey, oh yeah, you're robbing them, but this is a fair trade. And if you're getting the best player and you're getting rid of Davante Adams, like we talked about, has question marks. That's upside, but there's some question marks. We don't know when Nick Chubb's going to be back. We don't know if he's going to be effective. And you're able to bail out on those two for Bijan and Cortland Sutton. I think both of those are trending up. So I'd go ahead and pull the trigger.
Apologize about my mic volume. It should be good now. Somehow auto gain control got flipped back on. I got to message this company and figure out why that happens. I don't understand. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on that trade. Even though Bijan's been a little bit slow to start, it's only a matter of time, right?
You're getting him at a discount.
Yeah.
I mean, just go comparatively him to Chubb. Like, it's, yeah, I think you're in a good spot. Now, just be prepared. Davante Adams could land somewhere where he ends up being, a top 10 wide receiver for the last few weeks of the season. That's fine. But you're actually absolving yourself from some risk by letting him go.
Oh, no, Lions. I'll say it one time and one time only. Go Tigers. I mean, come on. These guys they're not even supposed to be in the postseason right now. And here they go and they start beating up teams.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, it is
Can we talk real quick? One thing, and I know this is fantasy football and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but
you're good.
What happened was, when I was watching that game, I just did not think it was fair to put Jackson Jobe in that spot. I mean, you had a 1-run lead in the 7th inning. He's pitched in 2 games in the major league level. He didn't pitch in major college. He came out of high school. To put him in that spot after 2 games with that much on the line, I don't think that was the spot to do it. Right? I just don't. He's going to be awesome. He's going to be a great pitcher. He did awesome at the end of the regular season, but we had already clinched, and the pressure wasn't there. To put him in that spot, I think was. I think it's tough. I think they won, and so that's going to get glossed over. But I hope that he got what he needed to learn and get that experience. Man, I was just like, why are we putting him in this spot? It was tough.
What did he do? He gave up 2 runs, or what did he give up?
He gave up 2. I mean, the first pitch, he hit a batter.
Yeah.
Like he's got the stuff, but like, and he's going to have the makeup to be really successful. But man, it's just 1-run lead in the 7th inning, and it's his 3rd Major League Baseball appearance. I just felt like you kind of set him. It's just a tough spot to put him in. That's
you set him up for failure. I see his stats now. So he was the number 3 overall pick by the Tigers in 21. He faced 5 batters. He got 1 out. He allowed 2 runs to score. He got 1 earned run out of the whole deal. But he what did he play? 1/3 of an inning.
Got 1 out.
Yeah. So he's gonna have a pretty high ERA from that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about the Tigers. I got to be honest. I kind of haven't watched them the majority of the season. You know, when you're ingrained into football like that, that's all I do. And, you know, they just haven't been great in a while. So now that they're back, I got to start watching them again. I was just telling Megan today, we probably should go to a game.
Yeah, we've got some texts going about getting tickets for next week already.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, we'll be in for sure. So,
all right, we're already into question 3 here. It is 7:45, and you know, explain the Adams situation. I think we kind of did a little bit, right? I already went over this, kind of going over the Lions' interest, real or not real. We talked about it. You know, you kind of saying regardless of where he goes, it is a likely upgrade. If you know, if there are owners who are wanting to sell him, and if you want to go into that a little bit more, you can. I don't know if we really covered it in clarity. What do you think? Question 3.
I mean, like I said before, like wherever he goes, it's going to be an upgraded situation for him. And if there are owners that are wanting to sell him because he isn't on the field, I mean, he probably won't be until he's traded, right? I don't think the Raiders are going to put him out there. He gets hurt and they lose all their leverage in the trade partner. But you know, he's worth a shot for down the road. I mean, the Jets would be an upgrade. The Chiefs would be an upgrade. That won't happen in the division. They would have to way overpay for him. Steelers neutral to upgrade. Saints would be an upgrade. Cowboys would certainly be an upgrade. But I don't think there's a lot to lose in acquiring him for the right price, right? So we talked about the trade that just we just walked through a few minutes ago. The owner on the other side of that, who's getting Davante Adams, I don't think that's a bad deal for them. Like they're acquiring him for the right price at a suppressed value, much like they're acquiring Bijan. But if I want one player, Davante or Bijan, for the rest of the season, I'll take Bijan. So, but there's nothing wrong with acquiring Adams for the right price right now.
Yeah, I love it. You know, talking about the Cowboys, we definitely don't need Jerry getting the itch because he's the kind of guy that he will make a run at Adams. And if you can think about having CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams and Dak Prescott, yeah, that's a problem for us in week 6 if they pull something off, you know, throughout the weekend.
Here's my opinion on that. They can acquire wherever they want. If Mike McCarthy is their head coach, they'll never go anywhere. They can have everything they want. Like I remember, I've got a lot of family who are Packer fans, and I remember.
I'm sorry.
They're good people, right? But I remember texting them, and I was just like, I'm like, McCarthy goes to Dallas. Like, this is great. They're going to be mediocre for the next 5 to 6 years. And
yeah,
like, they can do whatever they want in the preseason. McCarthy is riding the coattails of a different coach's roster and Aaron Rodgers to a Super Bowl title. He's not been good. Aaron Rodgers kept him afloat for years. I hope he coaches in Dallas forever because he'll never go anywhere.
I think the real issue in Dallas, though, I mean, outside of McCarthy is Jerry. I mean, he's got his fingers in everything. He can't just let people do their job, you know? And I think that's a big time problem. I don't care what business it is. If you got someone over your shoulder all the time telling you how to, you know, pull this string that way and pull that string this way, well, you're not going to do good at your job. And, you know, he meddles way too damn much. I mean, Jerry's just got to let him play football. And if he just lets them play, maybe they'll win. Because they got the talent. They for sure have the talent. So, all right, let's look ahead now. We are tackling this week. I'm sorry, what does that say? We are tackling this week 5. Well, I don't know why that says that. Let's look ahead into week 5. We got a bye week for the Lions, the Titans, the Eagles, and the Chargers. So 4 teams are out this week. What did you want to talk about here in looking ahead into week 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not impacted by one of those teams, there's a chance that your opponents will be. So it's those are teams that have decent fantasy contributors. So it'll be an interesting week for some people. I think from a waiver wire perspective, the consensus here is really for those, and I tend to look at this as anything that has this person available in more than 40% of leagues, right? That's kind of the threshold. Justin Fields and Geno Smith for quarterback ads, running backs with Trey Sermon, with Jonathan Taylor likely to miss this week. Roshan Johnson seems to be getting into more favor in Chicago. Rico Dowdle, due to deductive reasoning, there's no one else that can do it other than Rico Dowdle. So like we've got to roll with him. Kareem Hunt, for those who didn't pick him up last week. And I think it's Nick Chubb time. So Nick Chubb is not owned in many places. And especially if you don't have an IR spot, most people aren't sitting there holding on to Nick Chubb. But if he's out there, go get him. You may not have him for a couple of weeks, but you don't find starting caliber running backs just sitting on the waiver wire very often. So just try to get out ahead of other people and getting Nick Chubb.
You know, I've been holding on to Puka Nacua, and I probably shouldn't be.
No, you should. Yeah, absolutely, you should. Yeah, I don't think his injury was going to be too long term. I think week 8 is the target for him too.
I think so.
3 weeks away. Definitely don't want to drop Puka Nacua.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Where I'll hold on to it for a little bit longer. I mean, I'm finally catching up in my little fun league for Rockton Detroit Lions, but it's been.
Well, and at wide receiver, Dontavian Wicks, with Watson missing time, he seems to be developing a good rapport with Jordan Love, Wan'Dale Robinson. If you look at targets in the first 4 weeks of the season, so everybody's played 4 games, Malik Neighbors is the most targets of anybody in.
That's nuts. Football. It's crazy.
And then you've got some common people like Amon-Ra's 3, and I can't remember who was 2 and 4. Number 5 is Wan'Dale Robinson. He has the 5th most targets of anybody. So look at Wan'Dale. I think it was 2 weeks ago we had somebody in the chat ask about Xavier Legette, and it was when Andy Dalton was getting ready to start, and the advice that I gave was pick him up as a speculative, stash him. Let's see what happens. And if nothing pans out with Andy Dalton, then go ahead and drop him. Well, it's panning out. So hopefully that listener ended up doing that, because then they've got Xavier Legette on their roster. They don't have to go out and bid for him. Josh Downs seems to be taking the place of A.D. Mitchell. And then, of course, Trey Tucker with this Davante Adams news. Trey Tucker is going to be a good target for those looking for a receiver to add. Last thing, probably my biggest pickup of the week, and a lot of it goes to the fact that I play tight end premium, but Tyler Kraft at this point seems like the tight end 1 in Green Bay. They drafted, I think, 2 of them last year with Luke Musgrave and Tyler Kraft. I think Musgrave was a higher pick.
Yeah, he was.
Musgrave, but Tyler Kraft, that seems to be his role. Musgrave's not doing much of anything. So if Tyler Kraft is out there, he should be in most. Go out and get him. 2 quick defenses too that I'll outline: the Packers and the Broncos. Like, I wouldn't call them like that. They're not on the same level as the Vikings, but look at their schedule for the next 4 or 5 weeks, and you'll see why both the Packers and Broncos could be good streaming defenses to get.
Yeah, you had the Vikings mentioned. So I've been hot on the Vikings defense this entire year. I mean, right after the draft, free agency's done, and I'm like, man, this defense is going to be nuts. And I think that they've already proven how good of a defense that they have over there in Minnesota. So do you have any long-term outlook with them? Or
I love to hate them because we're going to have to play them twice.
That's very true.
And I was listening to some sports gambling podcasts this morning, and they do a lot on the awards markets, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year. The overwhelming favorite for assistant coach of the year is Brian Flores. And, there was some controversy when he left Miami. That's been fairly well documented, but he seems to be getting a lot out of this defense right now.
Yeah. If Dan Campbell is not at the top of that list this year, if Dan wins the North again.
That's head coach, though. It's head coach.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm
That's
sorry. What did you say,
yeah, it's
Flores?
consistent of the year.
You okay? Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, DC needs to be at the top of this coach too. So, or the top of this list for head coach. He really
I think he
does.
should have gotten it the year Dayball won it
He should
personally
have.
when they got back to 8-9.
Yeah.
You know, or 9-8 rather. Sorry, but you know, sometimes those big media markets help out a little bit.
Yeah. You think just a little bit. DFS targets. So week 5 cash lineups. What do you have for this
All
week?
right. I'm gonna go. So let's separate it out into cash and GPP. Some of my targets for cash: Brock Purdy, Jerome Ford going against a bad defense. Chase Brown we talked about. I'm going to continue to ride Deontay and Jaden Reed. I think those will be a little chalkier. I think people are going to be off of Amari Cooper, but again, Amari Cooper's going against a poor defense. They're going to have to put up points to keep up with Washington. I don't think people are pretty low on him because of his drops last week. So let's go ahead and jump on Amari Cooper when he's going to be low owned. And then pairing up with Brock Purdy, I'm going to throw in George Kittle with DK Metcalf in the flex, and then either Denver or New England for defenses. That's kind of where I'm leaning at right now for cash. Now, GPP, I've got Jordan Love. I'm going to pair him with Tyler Kraft at tight end. I'm going to stick with either Denver or New England on defense. Then I'm going to roll out Jerome Ford, Trey Tucker. We'll go Jordan Mason. We have salary to throw in a stud, so we'll do Jamar Chase.
Whoa. Who do the Bengals have?
They have the Ravens this week. So I think people are going to jump off of him, which is fine. Let them jump off. Well, again, GPP, it's all about being a little bit more contrarian. So let's jump into Jamar Chase. And then I had Ramondre Stevenson in here. But I heard news today that he might be ceding opportunities to Antonio Gibson because of his fumbling. So, I would probably make a change to Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know which direction I would go yet. Or I may just assume everybody else is going to do that and keep Ramondre Stevenson in, and see if that actually comes to fruition. You got to take shots. You got to take risks. Chances are there's going to be 3 or 4 people you're not overly comfortable with in some of these GPPs. So yet to decide what I'm going to do on Ramondre.
Yeah, that makes sense.
People I will be avoiding still is like Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Just can't do it.
Stay away from Miami for another week. I still can't believe that Tua is expected to come back.
Week 8. That's what they're saying.
Man, the guy needs to go out there and bubble wrap.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what remains to be seen are his concussions indeed worse than everyone else's concussions, or do they just look worse? Like, because each time he's had his concussions, like it's just, like I don't want to imitate him. It's not appropriate, but like you just see his hands curling up. You see, just it looks bad when it happens, and it scares you.
Right.
But within 2 days, he wasn't having any symptoms. He was fine. Does his body just react differently to them? I don't know. You got to think he's got smart people around him giving him this advice. But I think it's malpractice on the front office's side of the Dolphins, knowing his history, to not have a more suitable backup. If you're signing Tim Boyle before week 4, we missed the checkbox somewhere earlier.
Right.
Like, there's no way we should have Tim Boyle backing him up. So I think that's something that I'm disappointed that the Dolphins didn't address, knowing his history. But here we are. They're 1-3, and not a lot to look forward to right now.
So the posturing that you're talking about there, I don't know if I'm going to say this word right, but it's called decorticate or decortiate, or it's DECORTICATE, posturing. And what it says is it is a sign of severe brain damage. So there's multiple levels of concussions, right? And with the severity comes the posturing. And that when he had that first one, I mean, it was instant. You know, it was instant. Both his arms were reached out, and yeah, like it's so he's had multiple of those, and you know, there's no room in your brain anyway. So a very, very thin, you know, I guess water barrier or whatever it is. And yeah, I have a feeling that his, just based on what we've read or heard, that you know his brain injuries have been worse than others. I hope that he's got great people around him.
Because I wasn't familiar with that term, but that makes sense. We actually ventured a little bit into the world of neuroscience here, which is probably a first for us, right? But no,
don't claim to be a doctor. Don't look. I just read. That's all I do. I just read it.
That's interesting though. Like I didn't realize it was a sign of severity, so that's even scarier for him.
Well, I heard him talking about it the night that it happened, and I never went back to look up the term until you just brought it up, and so I'm like, all right, I'll look it up. But they were talking about it that night, and I don't remember who was calling the game, if it was Aikman or who. I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about that posturing, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. I just thought that was part of concussion. So.
Yeah,
but I did learn this though, that the more you have, the easier they are to get, and the more severe they become every time. So I just hope he doesn't get hit and then he stays like that. You know, like,
yeah,
it's scary stuff, man. I feel for the guy. I don't even know the guy, and I feel for the guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Like every time you see the interviews and coming out of college, he's a good kid. Like and I'm old enough now where I can call these guys kids, which is strange. But yeah, I hope in the best. Whatever he decides to do, I guess it's his choice. But you know, he's got many more years of not playing football than he does playing football.
Hold on a second here. Kneecap Budding says, "Did you see the Chat GPT done with Jared Goff?" No. What happened with Chat GPT? I wish that we could share photos and stuff in the chat. Are you talking about all the memes or something like that? I don't know. I'll have to research it, I guess, when we get off. But anyway, so moving on to the Rockton Fantasy League, man. I heard we had some good news. What happened this week?
Good week, man. It's a good week. This is again the one that I've paid a lot of attention to because I know it's going to go. Any winnings, half the winnings are going to go to your foundation. So I'm very, very focused here. And after a 0-2 start, we have climbed back to 2-2.
Nice work.
We were the highest scoring team in the league for week 4.
Right.
We're only 4 points out of the last playoff spot. We had big performances from Jordan Love, Derrick Henry, McLaurin, and yes, Young Wake, who for 21 points from our kicker.
Jeez, Pete.
What's even better is we had 3 depth running backs that were on our bench, but they all scored over 10 points. And so just having that kind of depth at a scarce position is going to help us out in the long run. And certainly we talked about this before, particularly excited about Chase Brown's emergence here. So he could really end up being a key piece for us if we get into bye weeks. Speaking ahead to bye weeks, we've got Jamison Williams and Calvin Ridley that will be on a bye week. Our opponent has Ladd McConkey on a bye week. So we both have a flex wide receiver that we'll have to navigate around. Looking ahead to this week's waivers, I am going to make a claim for Dontavian Wicks. If I do get Wicks, I'll probably start him over Juwan Jennings and pair him up with Jordan Love at quarterback. We will still have Bijan and Derrick Henry this week. Wide receivers will have Terry McLaurin and DJ Moore in a revenge game against the Panthers.
Nice.
Chase Brown, either Juwan Jennings or Dontavian Wicks will roll with Dalton Kincaid at tight end. Young Wake, who again at kicker. And then we will be playing the Packers for our defense this week.
Nice. So you said that we're only 4 points. You're talking about points. How many points we've scored, right? Points for versus points against.
So the way that the league works is it's a 12-team league. 4 teams make the playoffs.
Right.
The 1 seed in the playoffs is the team with the best record.
Okay.
The 2 seed is the team with the highest points of the teams remaining. The 3 seed is the team with the best record, remaining, and the fourth team is the remaining team with the highest points. So best record, highest points, best record, highest points. And we are 4 points away from the person or the team that's in the fourth spot right now.
Perfect.
After an 0-2 start.
So really, you don't even have to win. You just need to have the most points.
Points will get you where you need to go if you're not winning.
Right.
Ideally, if you finish with the best record and the most points, you get a sweep bonus, which would be, I believe, $3,000.
Nice.
So
nice work.
We do want that.
Well, keep up the good work, man. I'm 1-3 in our little fun league. I finally won one this past weekend, and it wasn't by much. But I keep losing all my games like on Monday night, or my weekly matchup. I keep losing it on the Monday night game because I don't have any ponies in the race. So I got to do a better job of making sure I get a Monday night pony.
Yeah, it does make Monday Night Football a little bit more interesting. And when you have 23 leagues, I think that I have, chances are every game that's on at any point, there's somebody playing that's on my team and I'm going against at some point. So
nice.
It's always a lot of fun.
I see your message there, Jeremy. I'll look for it. I think I just found it online too, so I'll watch it when I'm done. And then, I found something cool with AI this weekend, and I had it made me a Detroit Lions theme song. So I now have a new theme song that's Detroit Lions and Rockton Detroit Lions, which I'm going to try to integrate into one of the shows here at some point. But yeah, this weird AI stuff, man, I told it what I wanted, and it made me a whole song in like 4 minutes with singers and everything. And it sounded like I'm listening to, a regular rock band or something. It just is so crazy and scary at the same time that it can do stuff like that. It can imitate real people. But another enlightening week. Any final thoughts before we head off for the night? Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I've got a bit more time on my hands during this next few weeks. I have actually resigned from my previous job, and I'll be joining my next company on October 28th. And so I've got a bit more time to focus here. I feel much more prepared when I'm not juggling a day job. If people have questions about the course of the week, they want to throw them at me on Twitter or wherever else, I'm all for it. So
love it. We'll have to get you on a morning show then. If you got all this time, you're going to have to come in and talk about the Lions.
Hey, you tell me when, brother. I'll be there.
All right. Well, that was, like week 5. Like we are already entering week 5 already with fantasy football. Another enlightening week, another powerful week for, his cues on what to do. They're paying off. I need to start listening because, I'm either stuck where I am and I can't get the players that, he's throwing out there, or I just, for whatever reason, didn't.
You of all people, you don't have any excuse.
I got to start listening more. It's usually the first way. I just can't do anything because the player's not available. Or the people are listening to you while I'm here, and then they're going and making the play, and then I get off, and then it's already done. So, you just got to send me the sheet earlier, I guess.
That's it. I'll do that. I got more time. I can do that.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night. Appreciate all you guys that showed up again tonight. Feel free to rewind it and watch it again. Share it with a friend, and like, share, and subscribe. Of course, Fantasy Football Tonight. We'll be back next week, Wednesday. I'll be back on Saturday morning doing the weekly pick'ems at 10:30. Of course, they start to come out tomorrow on the Rise and Grind Morning Show at 8 a.m. Jared, as always, wonderful show, man. Great information. Can't wait to see what week 5 holds. We don't have our ponies in the horse. The Detroit Lions are going to be sitting at home or on vacation with their families, whatever they're doing. They deserve it. They need a break. What a way to end week 4 in epic fashion. But we'll be back for week 5. You guys have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.
See ya.